All right, I didn't get a picture of it, but I'll put a picture as the thumbnail. A group of girls came up to me to talk to me, and then another big group of like guys came up to me and they thought I was famous and asked to take a picture with me. That was funny, but anyway, remember if you like the videos, like, subscribe, comment, share, split, if you want to appreciate, thanks. Because I don't have a lot of stuff to keep the channel active wise, so if you want to, super like whatever. Today's topic will be, can you live in Japan without being a pervert? And I say pervert with quotation marks because I don't know if you can. When I think about, you think about how holier than thou maybe some people are in general, or maybe how holier than thou things are in America or whatever like this, and you think there's this sort of idea of, I think they're called sex paths. Is that what it is? Like people go to these Asian countries just to have sex with like Asian girls or something like that. And I've always said personally, I'm not super into Asian girls. It's not my biasness, right? I mean, I do, I like the voices and they're smaller and, they can have nice faces. But generally speaking, I feel like I like that sort of more sexy Latina sort of body. Or if I was going to like blonde hair or something like that, I like maybe a more cliche Russian. Maybe I could even like Turkey or something. I don't, whatever the case is. Maybe, Muslim girls, man, inshallah, something. Whatever the case, personally, I'm not in Japan for like some kind of, there's never been this idea, people say yellow fever or anything like that. But there is this kind of like vibe, and you feel it every time in Japan because, Japan has like the Peter Pan syndrome, right? Where youth is always in your face, right? And, in a way, youth, I guess you could say, it's probably prevalent in every culture. Maybe Japan is a little bit more open with it because of how open, sex stuff is. That, I was just on the train recently and there was fucking like, boys love stuff just on the train, right? It's crazy, right? And, porn everywhere. And, sex is very, even where I am right now, I'm in like Kabukicho. And, basically in Japan you hear about those ideas that those kind of like loveless or sexless marriages, or I guess it would actually be there's love, right? But the wife kind of allows the man to still go into the city and have sex. Japan is almost like this. It's almost sort of like a it's sort of like, I guess some things are simplistic here, but it's almost like sort of a caveman society with like a sort of more futuristic sort of, cover on it, I guess, because there's obviously futuristic shit, but there's also very simple shit here, but there's still that sort of like caveman idea of like, man fuck woman, man work, woman don't work, man fuck. If man goes to the city to work, he will fuck when he's in the city, and then he will come home and maybe he will fuck you. But the wife must accept this kind of, I don't, it's just weird. Like I was even talking to a friend, and he said that he was talking to his girlfriend's father, and because the father spoke some English and the rest of the family didn't, and so the father was just open with him, and he's like, man, I'm still fucking other girls when I go to the city or something like that. And he's like, I just don't tell the wife or something like that. And they're just talking at the dinner table about this, I guess, right? But I guess it's one of those things, I've talked about in videos. It's like, as long as you don't rub it in the person's face, it's okay, so to speak, right? And I've even talked to other people, and they're like, and I'm like, can the wife have sex with other people? And they're even like, well, technically, yes, I would allow her, but, she probably wouldn't because, Japan, most people don't talk to each other, and people are just kind of stay to their own way. They go their own course, right? Again, Japan, I don't consider Japanese people to be very nice per se, but they are very non-malicious. And even when you think maybe that's why sex is the way it is in Japan, because when I think about, there's this sort of vibe, and that real relationships in Japan maybe are hard, even kind of like friendships, right? Because you don't actually feel like anybody actually cares about you, right? But they are very non-malicious, and so maybe there's this vibe that, well, I know that my significant other or whoever it might be, he might go and have sex with lots of other people because don't worry, none of us care about each other. only a few of us will ever care about each other in the first place. So if you need to bust your nuts, if you need to get some dick, it's okay, right? We're not going to like judge you. Nothing bad is going to happen. So I thought the cop was coming over there for me. I know there's been some like streamer problems. I saw like the cops coming over, so I was like, oh man, am I gonna get in trouble? I'm not streaming, right? But I lost my train of thought now. You know, it's just interesting, Japan. Like sometimes I feel like, man, I need to be more of a pervert. Like I don't know how people survive in Japan without being a pervert, because everybody always looks so young. You know, some people are like, oh, people only go to Japan to fuck young girls, and I'm like, dude, everybody looks young here. Everybody, not everybody, but you get what I mean. It's like, dude, you can't. How do you even know? And half the time, it's like, no one cares. Like I said, I told that one story. That one girl, she's actually, I guess I've had multiple girls pick me up, but you know, the crazy story that I feel just standing around girl, she basically just wanted me to take her home for the weekend and just teach her English the entire time. And she's like, yeah, just fuck me the whole time, right? And it's weird that, because if a Japanese person trusts you, and because people are generally non-malicious, right, it's very kind of like, you know, even guys were looking at me like when I turned her down originally, like I was like, are you sure? Like, I don't know. Are you old enough? She's like, yeah, I'm old enough. And like guys were looking at me like, bro, who cares? They're like, dude, it's Japan. It's like, dude, you're not going to hurt her, are you? And it's like, well, no, then who the fuck cares? It's because, and it's like Japan, it's like, dude, people don't hurt each other in Japan. Generally speaking, right? Generally speaking, they don't. But do people actually care about each other? Maybe they don't either, right? Maybe they don't care about each other enough to hurt one another, right? It's kind of that weird thing. There's that like that gammon mentality and the moyari, but because everyone automatically feels like it's that double-edged sword, because everyone is so considerate of other people, they always also consider that that person is also going through shit. And you know what I mean? It's like a double-edged sword. So it's like, oh, well, they're going through shit, so I can't say how I feel automatically either as well. And so then I can never say my true feelings, right? The moyari and the gammon sort of mentality. And again, I was just thinking about this, like, the sex thing as well. And, you know, it's like really incredible, just like, because sex is just so out in the open, right? And it's just so like, and of course, there are some like holier than thou things like that. You know, I'm not saying, you know, everything is perfect, right? I'm sure Japan has its own problems, you know. But yeah, sometimes I just think like, man, you come to some of these countries and, you know, and every country is like different. Like say when I was in Turkey, right? Turkey is very like, oh, my girlfriend must be a virgin, but she must be a porn star at the same time. She must be porn star and virgin at the same time. You know what I mean? So some of these Muslim cultures, you know what I mean? Whatever. And then of course a lot of the, you know, it's crazy, some of these Muslim cultures too, you know what I mean? You think about the things that, how young some of these girls do shit, and like, oh, I'm just, you know, no. This is like such a blunt conversation, you know, I've heard many girls like doing things at very young ages, or, you know, sex, you know, anal sex or something, but they don't consider it sex. You know, I've heard so many different like crazy stories from like Muslim cultures, just to, you know, sort of, I guess you try to, maybe everyone tries to, you know, think about something in their head in whatever way to justify it to themselves, whatever. So I guess there's a holier than thou sort of idea of maybe Muslim cultures as well. And that's not that every Muslim person I've ever talked to has told me that they've had anal sex with people or something, but they consider themselves virgins or something like that. But, you know, when you come to a place in Japan, it's just very interesting because things are just so, it's like, bro, yeah, people are getting fucked. You know, we're going to go to the Grand Castorium. The Grand Castorium right over there is a pretty famous place where people just go and they just bang on the cheap, get their dick sucked or something like that. The guy was telling me recently, he was walking down that street. Old guy tried to pick up this young girl, and he just looked at her after the old guy left, and he just smiled, and he's like, I guess he wasn't cool enough, or whatever the fuck he told me he said. And then the girl just came up to him, and she's like, well, actually, I kind of do want to suck dick right now. And she's just brought him into the corner and just starts sucking his dick right there. He was like, whoa. I don't know, bro. you know, just in the corner. And then she's like pulled down her panties, and he was about to do it. And he's like, whoa, we've known each other for 5 seconds, literally, right? But I don't know, bro. You know, again, Japan is interesting in that way. Fuck around and you're gonna fuck out. Fuck around and you're gonna find out, I guess. You know, I don't know, man. You know, I always try to live outside of an echo chamber. Right? I don't want to be just an American, so to speak, or I don't want to be just so and so. I always try to, like, you know, I like coming to the city at night, and then I like this quiet sort of suburban life, you know, during the day, because I like the contrast. I think it's like really interesting to see all that kind of stuff. You know, try to get like a vibe of everything and see the way people think. And you know, when I used to go down there's a big escort thing, and you know, I used to talk to some of the Japanese guys in my broken Japanese, and you know, we started fucking around. We even talked about video games before, and you know, you learn like the rules, how there's certain rules, like, oh, well, on this side of the street you're allowed to fuck a girl, on this side of the street you have to be Japanese, blah blah blah. There's just so many different rules, but generally speaking, again, sex is very just, you know, it's whatever. Like, even if there's laws, so to speak, all the laws are kind of just like gray zones. Like, as long as you aren't hurting the other person, it's okay. And because people automatically assume that you're not malicious, because most people are not generally malicious in Japan, it's just like whatever, you know what I mean? Like, even when you hear like, the police are only around basically just to make sure nobody gets hurt, and half the time they don't even have a job to do because people don't get hurt in Japan, right? Like, even when they had the prime minister got shot or whatever that story was, right? Like, they got off multiple shots because they're like, wait, something bad is happening? I don't know. Anyway, it's interesting though. If you like the videos, like, sub, silly, comment, share, support the channel, PayPal, Patreon, super like, whatever you want to do. I do appreciate it. You know, I feel like one day in Japan I should actually go to an arcade. Maybe I should play video games one day in Japan, actually. But it's just so hard to care about games, you know? It's not a big deal to me. Anyway, yeah, the end.